Awaken to hair growth. Awaken to hair growth because there is possibility to get your hair back. Awaken to hair growth because we're not told that we're able to conquer and overcome alopecia. Awaken to hair growth because I want to be a positive light and beacon for you because I've healed my alopecia and now I help others do the same with different types of alopecia, men, women, children of all ages, of all races and ethnicities.
Good. How are you? It's so nice to meet you.
I know. Thank you so much. It's great to meet you too. It's so good to put a name with a face always because I love connecting with clients in person. I love doing coaching calls. It's what I thrive on.
So weird seeing you outside just the videos.
I know, right? I'm a human. So tell me, how are things going? I'm excited to hear all about the details.
Yeah, I would say like really, really good. Like so far I've felt like I've had like a ton of progress. I have like no shedding anymore, like no extreme shedding. Like every time I used to shower, I used to have like tons of hair coming out pretty much, at least for me personally. And that doesn't happen anymore. It's just like normal. I did a little timeline, so I'll go through that. I had my first spot on my left side about here on my head, about a quarter size. Back in June of 2022, and that grew in pretty fast. I think that came back by August. I just have pretty fast growing hair, so I was kind of like not too worried about it. I was hoping that it was just a fluke, something from COVID maybe, and like one and done. That was a scare for me, and then I was moving on. But then I got my second and my third at the same time in around November. And the one at the base, I honestly don't know how I didn't see it sooner because it was actually like much bigger. Like I would say about that big.
I will say the ones in the back are really tricky. That's where mine were. And they're so tricky where you have to either have a hairstylist, right? Because they're going through your head.
Was in the middle of a class in a lecture. And I got into the habit of kind of like feeling my head and then looking for spots, and then I felt and I was like, oh my god, there's a massive bald spot. And then I kept feeling, and then there was another one about the same size, about a quarter on there. So I was just like trying not to cry in the middle of my class. Like, so I found two, and that was in November, and they were obviously there before because the one was pretty big and I just hadn't caught them until then. And then the reason why I really got scared was by about January I had no growth. Like they were just completely bald still. And I was like, okay, like the last one grew in really fast and now these ones are not growing at all. So I started like really rapidly searching everything I could. And I went to a dermatologist when I found the first one and a doctor and everything and had a blood test and with them. And I've always been against the cortisol shot and any of the medications. I've grown up in a pretty holistic household and I've just like I just was like, I'm not going to do that. And then when I like heard everything through the podcast and everything, I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to do any of that. But yeah, so I had done a ton of research and a lot of it was like not very positive. Like most people just say like, you know, there's no cure and you just manage it with medications and stuff. I did find like some stuff about like eating anti-inflammatory foods. So it was not great. And I remember just like sitting in my room one night and thinking, you know, one place I haven't tried was like podcasts. So I just like searched up Alopecia podcast on Spotify and yours came up and I had my eye mask on, was just listening with AirPods, and I remember just starting to cry listening because I was like, oh my god, all of this is me. Like just checking all the boxes and just like little things like the nails and stuff like that I hadn't even noticed before that I was like, okay, I have that too. So I was like binging the episodes, just like listening to all of them. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I've always had like a voice in the back of my head that was telling me that like, I was like, I'm not going to live with it. And I like refused to think that I'm going to live with it. So that's been good.
You're young, right? I love seeing you so A, empowered, B, like go getter, like this is not going to stop me. I'm going to put the kibosh to this. And also love your fearlessness, like just going for it, A, because that's what it takes. You just have to go for it. And C, I love your mindset because that mindset is so powerful. And so we'll touch back about that, but you keep going on your timeline.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate because my parents are like really supportive and they, you know, help me financially with this and everything. And they were just like, you know what, like we think it's great. And regardless if you, you know, see hair growth or not, you're going to get so many tools out of this for moving forward. So they were super supportive. I really like the line that you use a lot of just like, these things don't discriminate. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. And like, it's definitely like a up and down, like sort of coping throughout it, but I'm in a much better place now. Like, I think I've kind of grieved it, but I definitely had my moments where I was just like, this is not fair. And like, I'm a good person and I live, and like a big thing for me too is that I have grown up pretty holistically and stuff. So I was like, I don't eat like shit, like I don't go out a lot. And so I was having a lot of like, this isn't fair feeling, but you know, life isn't fair. So then, okay, by February, I started to see growth a little bit. I was getting peach fuzz. So peach fuzz all over both of them. Like I could just feel very lightly. And I was like, okay, that's something. So really white hair, peach fuzz. By March, it stopped, like right side was full of like little tiny brown hairs, like the whole squad. So that was amazing. By March, April, this side now is all like quarter inch full hair is growing back in there. And the back one, it's starting to go all around the edges now. I have like little tiny brown hairs. And you talked about how, like, I'm guessing this was the first one because I found this one, like, it was bigger than this one was. They kind of go in reverse. Like, you get the most recent one grows in and then the next, and they grow in like a spiral. At least this one is like, it's going all around the edges and then coming into the middle. So
well, I think they grow differently depending on each person. For me, they didn't grow in a spiral. They just kind of like grew like a shaggy carpet, just kind of like, almost like throwing down the shade or an umbrella on top. But I mean, for everyone, it can be different for sure. But when I speak of like the big pool of people who I've dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely was just like, oh yeah, it's nice to see though, like when you're like hearing it, and you're like, okay, mine's like that. So it's on the right track. Yeah. So I've been like super stoked like about everything. So I'm like, wow, like I have no more like extreme shedding. So it's just going up from here. The one spot's grown and this one's growing. So I feel like I'm on the right track.
100% you are. I mean, the keys to success are in the program. And this way you exactly know what to do, what not to do, how to live your life and how to make it the best possible so that alopecia hair loss is never an issue again.
Yeah, really. Totally.
What would you say to anybody who was on the fence, who was where you were before you even started the program? Skeptical about it, or who was just like, I don't know, is it worth it?
The biggest thing for me is like you have to want to invest in yourself, like it is a lot of money, especially if you are like a student. But I think, in the long term, like I'm like, you're worth it in the moment and your health is worth it. And I was like, it's gonna go so much farther. So like with my parents and stuff really helped me. But like I think regardless, I probably still would have eventually, I probably should have been on the fence a little bit longer, eventually would have picked it because, you gotta be willing to invest in yourself and your health is worth it. And otherwise you're just going to be, extending it that you're going through all your symptoms. So I think it's just a really like safe, realistic and, helpful option. So I think people should do it if they can. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else I can help with?
No, I think it's pretty good. Like I feel really happy with where I'm at. So I'm feeling really optimistic. So
excellent. Well, keep us posted on your progress. I want to, celebrate you and be able to share it with the world that you've healed completely. And it's just like you got a full control on it. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And please keep us posted and updated because again, I want to celebrate you and I want to share it to the world because healing is possible and it takes work, but at the same time, you are worth it. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Alopecia Angel podcast, a positive light in healing alopecia. You can do this and we can help. Spread the word that reversing alopecia is possible by telling your friends and family.